Ashley here, and today I wanted to do my first Top 5 Wednesday. If you want more information about what Top 5 Wednesday is, then you can check out the link that I'll post below. So today's topic is books that are not set in or inspired by the Western world. I was actually a bit surprised because I didn't expect to have that many of books that aren't set in the Western world, mostly because a lot of my favorite books are kind of dystopian, that take place in the Western world, if you can call it that, usually like a Europe-y kind of place, or a medieval fantasy, and those are almost always, I imagine them at least, to be set in some kind of European-like place, mostly because they have things like knights and squires, and that's all very Western. So I did order, actually, a couple weeks ago, books that were more diverse, because I realized that I don't have many books that are diverse, and I really wanted to try to expand what I'm reading. I do have a fair amount of recommendations for you. I can't actually talk about many of them because I haven't read them yet. So this is just, I can give you ideas if you want diverse books. But I'll have to do future reviews on them, since I've only read like 3 of these books. So let's get into it. The first one is And the Mountains Echoed by Khaled Hosseini. So you might recognize this name because this is the same author that did Kite Runner, which is an amazing book, and you all definitely need to read it. So this is set in Afghanistan, just like Kite Runner was. I have not read it, and I know a lot of people said good things about 1,000 Splendid Suns, which I also haven't read, and so I have this book. I feel like I stole this from someone or something because I don't remember ordering it, but I think book collectors sometimes come into possession of books and we can't quite remember how. I can't wait to start this one because Khaled Hosseini's writing is almost poetic. It's beautiful, and I loved reading Kite Runner. It was it was emotionally draining, but it was so impactful and so important. So one of the books that I actually have read, which is The Life of Pi by Yann Martel. So I really like reading books before I watch the movie, and so I really wanted to watch the movie, but I really wanted to read the book first. This is a beautiful book. And it's amazing. I don't want to give spoilers, but the ending is amazing, and I think it's an ending that I think it's an ending that you can really talk about with other people that have read the book and really try to figure out what the truth is. I have an opinion, and I'm going to stick to it. I thought the movie was beautiful, but it's a great book, and it took place in India. I actually went to Pondicherry, which is where the character in this book is from. So yeah, definitely pick this up. Just beautiful imagery. Next is Aeon by Alison Goodman. So I haven't read this one, though I know it has a second one called Aeon, which I feel kind of like spoils this book for me, since the second one is her actual name. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm gonna go that it's based on China, given the Chinese characters that are in here. It looks like it's kind of a samurai-ish book. So this is definitely one that is set in an entirely different culture. So I'm super excited to read this because I actually don't have many young adult or fantasy books that are set in China or Japan or Korea. I have some books like Tamora Pierce's books, or even Mercedes Lackey's books, where cultures are based off of kind of those cultures, but they don't actually take place in those cultures, or those countries rather. Next is the second one I've read, which is The Starfish Queen by Roshani Chokshi. This is actually based off of India. I think it's kind of like, it's weird though, because it's kind of a Persephone myth. I'm not sure if there is a similar kind of myth in like the Hindu texts that I don't know about. I know kind of some of the basic stories of the Hindu texts, but I don't know this one. But it is very funny because the country that the main character lives in is called Bharat, which in Hindi means India. So pretty clear, if you didn't get where she was from, that takes place in India, and she's Indian. Again, I was just living in India for 2 years, so I was really excited about picking this up. I was kind of iffy about it. I felt like, I don't know if I really jived with her writing style, so I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up the second one. There is a spin-off with her sister that I feel like might be interesting, just because the story is different, because I'm not sure if I resonated with this character and like what happened. It was kind of too easy to see what was coming. So next is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. So this is very short, but is a really powerful read. It's kind of a moral read. Again, okay, maybe I have more India books than I thought. It's of course based off of the life of Buddha, and he actually was born in India, in northern India, and it's kind of his story about his transformation into Buddha, because actually Buddha was very un-Buddha-like in his young adulthood. It's a beautiful book. So my mentor in undergraduate really liked this book, and so upon graduation he gave all of us copies of this, and I instantly read it. It is super short and very quick read. And next is Confession of the Lioness by Mia Couto. This actually takes place in Mozambique, and Mozambique is actually a Portuguese-speaking African country. So I got it, one, because it sounds really interesting, but two, because it's Portuguese-speaking, so I learned a little bit about it. But it talks about this, like, I think this lioness is hunting and killing women. I have a feeling that, like, it's not actually a lioness, or like someone is like possessing the lioness, or like the lioness I feel like is a metaphor. It does seem pretty short, so I'm sure I can fly through this. So hopefully I can do a review on this maybe next month. Those are kind of the fiction books I have. I have a fair amount also of nonfiction books, so if you don't want recommendations on those, you can go ahead and stop, but I figured I'd do some nonfiction recommendations too. So I have one called A Tale of Love and Darkness by Amos Oz. My dad gave this to me, I think when I graduated undergraduate, and I never read it. I think because it's really long, and it's a memoir, and I just don't read memoirs. And so I guess it kind of scared me, and I never read it. But it takes place in Jerusalem. I thought it was Arabic. I feel like this reminds me of kind of Jerusalem or Lebanon. So I knew that it took place partially there. Oh, and it does say Israel on the back. So I'm not sure if you classify Israel as the Western world. I feel like not. I would put it in the Middle East, though I know obviously that it has a lot of Western influences. But it is diverse. It is unlike anything I have, so I wanted to include it. Then I have the 7 military classics of ancient China. I read this a long time ago. I have some tabs. I used this actually for a paper where I analyzed China's military, like what they're doing militarily now, using these ancient texts as reference. So this is, of course, where the art of war is from. But the art of war is just by Sun Tzu. It's just the most well-known of the 7 military classics. So I wanted to use more than just the art of war in my paper, so I based a lot of it off of the 7 military classics of ancient China. This is really fascinating and a really interesting take. I mean, it's very different than what kind of Western military thought was up until, I feel like, the 21st century. And I feel like it gives you just a really solid grasp of kind of how China always approached their wars historically. I mean, these were written sometime between 500 BCE and 700 CE, so BC and AD. 500 BC, that's how old some of these texts are. So super interesting if you like military stuff. Next I have I Am Malala. So I'm super excited to someday read this because I I hope that I can someday be as amazing as Malala. She was shot in the face by the Taliban and still is continuing to build schools and talk about girls' education and women's rights and girls' rights. And she just won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she is amazing. And I would love to meet her someday. I would love to have her conviction and her power. So super excited to read her memoir. So next I have Reading Lolita in Tehran by Azar Nafisi. So obviously you know Lolita, which is a pretty scandalous book even by Western standards right now. But then Tehran is of course the capital of Iran. You have some women in hijabs. They look like teenager girls in hijabs. And so you can imagine what reading Lolita would be like in a very ultra-conservative country. So I think it's this story about how these teachers and these girls would get together and have like a banned Western classics book club. And I love stories of book clubs, and I love stories about women and female empowerment and like doing what you know is right. So I'm really excited to read this. It's hard for me to read nonfiction, which is I think why I haven't picked it up, but I really do want to, I think I want to read Lolita first, and I don't own Lolita before I read this. So I should buy Lolita, read that, and then so I can read this. And finally we have The Lost Boys of Sudan by Mark Bixler. So I read this for like a book club, not a book club reading, I guess, kind of in my freshman year of college. And this is a very powerful book about, so Sudan, well before it was North and South Sudan, it has had a war for like the last 20-25 years, a long time, which is why the country split just a few years ago anyway. And this is a story about these child soldiers who were in Sudan, who flee Sudan and become refugees in the United States. And it's all about their story in the United States. So, okay, maybe it shouldn't be on here, it's set in the US, but they're refugees from Sudan. And it's very, very powerful to read about refugee stories in the United States. And all the preconceptions that people have about refugees in the United States, and then how hard it is to be a refugee in the United States. And I think this book just, not only did it tell me about what was going on in Sudan, which I didn't fully know about or fully understand, but then it also told me like the important work that refugee nonprofits do to help these communities. So if you want to learn more about refugees or kind of a small history of what's been going on in Sudan, though I think this was written in, I don't know, like 2008, 2005, 2006. So it's even dated now, but it's still really impactful. Those are my recommendations for books that are not set in the Western world or don't have characters that are from the Western world, maybe I should say. I don't know if I have any more, which is a bit of a bummer because I feel like these, 12, 13 books that I have, out of the hundreds of books I have, that's just not enough. So I really am looking for more diversity. So I can't wait to read these other topics so that I can get more ideas. So if you read any of these or have read any of these, let me know what you think about them. And I look forward to doing another Top 5 Wednesday.